Luke Strange is joining me from Cool Hand Electric. Hello, Luke. How are you?
Doing great.
Welcome to the program. A question's come in from one of our listeners here at Check a Pro Radio. What are the different types of electrical panels? I didn't even know there were a lot of different types. That's how much I know. Can you help us out here a little bit on this question?
Sure. Um, electrical panel, we'll just speak for houses primarily. A house panel, there's the main power coming in. That would be what most call a main breaker panel. Okay. So the power comes in from the power company and then it feeds off to all the other circuits in the house. There's a few different types. There's ones that are kind of like we call them construction grade, but built very cheap. They have aluminum bus bars in the back, and they average about really 10 years of being accurate.
Hmm.
The coating on aluminum is not that great, and so it'll start discoloring. It doesn't pull much. It doesn't handle much heat. They're put in garages. They get hot along with the power being pulled from it, and so they don't really um, last super long. But they pass. They'll pass your 1 or 2 year warranty or whatever. And so that would be like an aluminum bus bar panel. The other types are ones that have a copper mixture in them, and they can hold power pretty well. Those ones you get about 20 to 30 years, and those range mostly on the circuit breakers and the bus bar. Now, there's also sub panels. And so if there's a main breaker panel coming in and that feeds your power, you can go from there to another breaker panel, and that's called a sub panel. Um, so the sub panel, if you may need more circuits, you may need something along those lines to add, maybe doing a remodel or adding stuff. That's when someone would add a sub panel to have more circuits. Nowadays, too, they're doing where they'll do because there's a code that's been fire department coming into a house. They want to be able to turn off all the power inside the house and not have to enter the house to turn off power if in case of emergency. So nowadays there's it's called a service disconnect, or we'll call it a first responder switch,
Oh,
safety switch. So they'll come in, they'll be right by the meter where the power comes in. There'll be another little disconnect there. They'll turn that off and go inside where the actual breaker panel is, and that's how that's ran. But there's a way of saving money on new construction stuff. They'll put an outside panel, and that acts as a
yeah.
main breaker panel safety switch. And then from that outside panel, they'll run a sub panel inside the garage, and then you'll do your small circuits off of that one. So it gives you more circuit space, but then someone doesn't have to go outside for all of their breakers, the commonly used ones. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things to consider on breaker panels. Primarily, though, what's the bus bar made of? Is this a copper bus bar, or is it aluminum? The aluminum are just built, very economy style. They're just not that. They're not going to be very high quality or long term. They don't make great connections. They get corrosion over time very easily. And then the copper bus bar is typically your better way to go. Now, back in the day, there was other breaker panels that we call obsolete. Insurance actually we'll send a letter and we'll drop your insurance on a lot of these brands now. Those ones, if you have that, there's no question it's not protecting anything. Not only is the wiring not protected by the circuit breaker because it's old, but also the breaker panel itself has been seen to cause fires there. So those ones like the Federal Pacific, Zinsco brands as well, they're not really protecting anything at all. Just get that out of your house.
You had mentioned panels inside the house and panels outside the house, and it got me to thinking because I've lived in some homes where we've had the panel outside. So if a breaker did trip, we would have to go outside to reset it. In the home I'm in now, there's 2 breaker panels. They're both inside a utility room inside the house. One is going to be protected more, the ones we have now inside the conditioned space. The other one was out in the elements. Are they different panels as far as holding up, or is it the same panel, but one's gonna be exposed to the elements?
They're different in the frame, like what it's built. If it's installed properly, it's sealed to where moisture doesn't get in. That's the big thing is making sure it's installed properly. If moisture gets in, it's definitely going to cause issues. But perfect world, perfect situation, and installed properly, the outside panel is totally fine. It's built with a rain bonnet type of deal, so water doesn't actually get inside of there, and the doors are made to where they keep the moisture out, and you have to you can lock them as well. So if they build the outside panels really well now, but the guts inside of them, the guts are basically the same. It's more of the frame that it's put inside. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Luke, as always, thank you so much for your insight. We all appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good one.